Good morning, people in the south, and my people in the east. Good day, good afternoon, people in the west. Good evening, friends in the north. How you guys doing? Um, I I'm from where an era of a situation where if we needed to communicate with loved ones, um, we would use letters through post office, and the the letters would be addressed to our grandmothers mostly, because we were brought up by grandmothers and grandfathers in most of the households. So the letters would be addressed to the grandmother in the household, and the grandmother will definitely call one of the grandchildren, which was mostly us, to read the letter for them, you know. And as you read the letter, as you go through the letter, you realize that the content, or some of the content of the paragraph or the letter, it's about you. So the letters could not support an element of surprise, so to speak. In case they were surprised, they're planning to surprise you, So you would read about yourself and what kind of shoes your mom, your uncle, your father, whoever is planning to buy you, and they would ask your grandmother if your shoes are still okay, your school shoes or whatever. And that kind of system could not support any element of surprise for us, because we already knew what they were planning about us. So on today's discussion episode, I would like to double click a little bit on the telecommunication sector. Yeah, I haven't been double clicking on sectors in a while, on the core sectors in a while. So telecommunication sector, this is one of the core sectors which supports and holds together the economy, and I believe there's still a chance, there's still space, there's still opportunities for innovators like us to go in and look into the gaps where we can actually innovate and build new systems and bring about new ideas within this sector. And it's one of the broader sectors that allows many other aspects within the sector itself to be explored. And as such, like I said, we used to communicate with loved ones through letters, and through letters that we collected from post office. So today, in today's age, today's era, we do not use post office anymore. Many post offices in South Africa, more specifically, have been closed down because they became redundant and irrelevant as the world moves. So I think that on its own opens up a lot of opportunities for us to look into other alternatives that we can use to create different post office kind of setup, perhaps online, because everyone is online in today's age. Perhaps create a post office that is online, maybe call it whatever that coordinates communication between two parties and so on, just like the the model that our post offices used to apply, So yeah, so telecommunication sector, a very interesting sector because I studied more around such sector, and I've I've acquired more experience as well around that sector. So there's a couple of things and a couple of opportunities that I'm fully aware of, which I know do exist. All we need as innovators is just to dig a little bit deeper and unearth such opportunities and open them up for other innovators that might even come after us, Yeah, so the one of the things that came through my head as I was thinking about this telecommunication sector was the fact that over and above the method that we were born into in terms of communicating with our loved ones, which was letters from post office, there were other methods that the ancient people used to apply, to communicate with the loved ones, especially when I was privileged because I was brought up by older people, I was brought up by my grandparents from both maternal and paternal, grandmother from paternal, grandmother and grandfather from maternal. So we used to spend, as grandchildren, we used to spend time with them. We used to ask them questions. They used to tell us how things used to be, You get such information through your uncles, through your parents, through them themselves. They will lay down how things used to be, in a form that you are able to understand and compare with your current life in terms of technology and stuff like that. So over and above the letters, they used to have another method of communication which they used before the letters. If you remember, we had methods like telegrams. We had methods like fast mail, which I'll touch base on a little bit later. And there was this method that they say they used. I've never seen this method being used. I've never confirmed how effective this method was. But what they say they used to apply, especially when the loved ones have died within the family or within the household, they used to go get the very, very dried cow dung from the field, come burn it, and then as it burns almost into ashes, but still holding together, they take that cow dung while still burning, put it on a sort of a plate, and then they hit it with a stick, just like a golf stick, like when you hit your golf ball with your stick, with your golf stick. They used to do that. So they take the dried cow dung, burn it. As it burns, then they remove it from the fire, put it on a sort of a plate where they'll be able to heat it, and then as they heat that thing, it will splash out like a firecracker, psh. And as it does that, they talk to the firecracker effect, and as they talk to the firecracker effect, whoever that they are addressing that message to, somehow they will receive the message through the Almighty somehow. I don't know, but what happens is, if say the uncle died, the grandmother died, and you have your other family members who are working very far away from home. In most of households cases in South Africa, most of the family members worked around 300 kilometers from home, which is mostly Johannesburg, because Johannesburg is the central city and it was the heart of South Africa's economy. So more jobs were available around that area. So there were no cell phones, there were no telephones and anything like that. So they would use that method to communicate with those people. So once they hit that cow dung and it splashes out like a firecracker, and they will say, wherever you are, so and so, they'll call your name. They are actually reporting a death of a family member. So if your name as an uncle, as a father, as a grandmother, grandfather, working 300 kilometers away, if your name is John, they would say, John, please know that your grandfather has passed away. And then that thing will go out in the air and then it goes down. And then as it settles down, you will start receiving that message somehow. 300 kilometers away, you get, maybe when you're sleeping, you have a dream about your grandmother being, your grandmother that has been deported to have passed. You will get a message through that, you know, or somehow somebody will just come to you and tell you in a form of a prophecy, you know, that there's a person who passed away at home. And then when you're sleeping, somehow you will get the name of the person who passed away through that particular practice. And that was mind blowing, because when you start to think about it, you're starting to analyze the connection that we have between us and the Creator, the connections that we have between ourselves, you know. So the telepathical connections that we have, you know, the what do they call this thing when somebody does something with someone from different locations, tele something, they call it tele something. So we missed out on the technology of the ancient times. We were born just after they stopped using such technology, because now they had letters, you know, they could write letters through post office. I think the British brought in the post office systems, and then they started using such system. But if you look into this, if you really pay attention to exactly the system that I just explained, you can tell that there was some kind of a connection between these people, this group of people. There was some kind of data that was used somehow, you know. There was some kind of I don't want to push this too much to the spiritual things, but more to the science part of things, you know. Somehow you will get the message, even if you didn't have some kind of a gadget with you in your hand, you know. So let's go back to the telegram and the first mail that I said I'll talk about a little bit later. Telegram was one of the letters that you would send to your loved ones who worked too far from home, and apparently the telegram was very expensive to use. You were charged by a letter. So every letter that you write, every letter of the alphabet that you write on your letter that you're going to put in the envelope, it's charged, and it was very expensive. So if you write a word that contains 5 letters and they charged 2 rand per letter, then you'll pay 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rands for a word. Then if you write 10 words, then you pay 10 rands times 10, which is $100. And that was a lot of money at the time, just for the loved one to receive a message. So what these people did was, if they want the loved ones to receive the messages, they would go write maybe half of a word and three weights on the letter so that they don't pay more. So in such a way that the recipient of the letter will understand the message when they read what you wrote. So they would say, Granny died. Then they pay $20. Better than explaining the entire story, Granny died. Then they pay $20. Then it's a telegram. They send it through. Telegram apparently took about 24 hours to reach the destination. I'm not sure if it was 24 hours because the vehicles at the time were very slow. The transportation system was very slow and very what's the word for it? The transport was not effective that much. So I'm just not sure if it was 24 hours or a day or two, but you could get the letter as soon as possible, rather than the normal letter. The normal letter that you write full page and the back, and you could actually write 5 pages, put them in an envelope, and that letter would take the whole month to reach you through post office. So over and above the telegram, there was something called fast mail. Fast mail is, I think, replaced telegram because during the fast mail era, telegrams had already subsided. We did not have telegrams anymore. What the fast mail did was, you buy this expensive envelope that did not require a stamp. All you do is put the address of where the letter or the contents of the envelope is going, put it in the fast mail. Within 48 hours, that document will be delivered wherever you want it delivered. So it was some kind of a courier service of mail. And I don't think we still have the fast mail envelopes anymore, because today we have courier services that works every day. We have these systems that are in place and very effective. So I can send a document or a parcel from here to 400 kilometers away. Tomorrow morning, whoever that I send that to would have received it. So there's no need for a fast mail anymore. These are technologies, these are systems, these are models, these are methods that were used to communicate, And then we had disruptions of all of that. We had disruptions of all of those things. And okay, I'll talk about the disruptions toward the end of this video. But over and above this, we have seen, I was not there, but we've seen an introduction of cell phones. Not necessarily cell phones, but telephones. We've seen an introduction of telephones around the 1800s, around the 1870s, 1875. We've seen an introduction, 1875, 1876, seen an introduction of a telephone, like the first telephone which was tested and somebody received a telephone call on the other side. And it was very expensive to own a telephone line. It was very expensive to have a telephone line that comes through to your house to be connected. If one household has got a telephone line, that household was could only be declared the rich, So the rich had telephones, and not everyone had a telephone. And people who were still relying on mail. Letters, to be specific. People relied on letters, nothing else. No cell phones, no telephones, no telegrams, no fast mail. It was just letters or telephone. If you don't have a telephone, you will rely on a letter. So post office had a very good time, they had a very good era of operations. They made a lot of profits. They made a lot of money. They were big. They had branches everywhere, because this is telecommunication system, And around 1900, around the 1969, 70, up to 74, we saw the introduction of a cell phone. A cell phone was introduced. This was a groundbreaking innovation for everyone, because Now you have a cordless phone that you keep with you, walk around with you. Anyone who wants you can get hold of you, you know. And this was never seen as anything that could disrupt all of these things that I've spoken about, including the telephone itself. It has never seen as anything like that, but it was introduced, and then it was only for the rich again. The poor could not have cell phones. Cell phones were those big brick of a gadget that you carried around. It was very heavy, and it had an aerial. So before you could speak, you had to extend an area and then start talking, and you looked funny, and people could not understand what you were doing because it was new technology, you know. So these were methods and ways and models that the economy tried to enhance and advance its sector, its telecommunication sector. Look what we have today. We have the internet. Today we have the internet. You know, we can use the internet for anything. You know, we can use the internet for anything that we want. You can access internet from anywhere, basically. We have things like ChatGPT. We have things like, you know, Google. We have things like on Google you get so many services. You get emails, free email service. You get, it's not that free because you need to connect to be connected to the internet with data, so it's not free. So you get sort of free email services. You've got your maps, you've got your all of those things, you know, through the internet. Those are the enhancement of the telecommunication sector. But let's look at the possibilities that we have today, because this is today's life. This life that we live in, it's today's life. It's the life that we have to live today. And we have to innovate into this life. We have to sort of look into the opportunities that I spoke about for us to be able to innovate within these spaces, you know. Let's tie up the methods that they used when they communicated in the ancient times with cow dungs. Let's tie up the telegram methods. Okay, telegram was brought back, but in the form of an app, so it's more like a WhatsApp, but basically the same thing. Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, they operate the same way. So they just use the name Telegram, but it's the same communication platform. You communicate with your friends in groups and stuff like that, you know. So let's look into how else can we introduce a new way of communicating without following into the same steps as Twitter, as Telegram, as WhatsApp, as Facebook, and others. What else can we tie up? Looking at the history, looking at the ancient history, from the cow dung level to another level, because that is the future of telecommunication. You might not see it now, you might not see what I'm talking about now, but when it comes, you will realize that someone once spoke about this and we did not listen, you know. So there's a high chance that all these four could be or will be interrupted. The Telegram, the WhatsApp, the Twitter, the Facebook will be interrupted by something else. This is the time. This is the chance. I gave hints. I gave examples of how people used to communicate. Someone somewhere is going to come up with a disruptor of these four. These four, dark or blue, like it or not, are going to be disrupted by something big, something that we do not see coming. And this is an opportunity for us to think out of the box, innovate around these four things, looking at the past with the present for the future. So the past is the cow dance, the present is these four big apps of communication, and the future is the new one that is coming to disrupt these four. You know what I mean? Look at what the cell phones and the internet did. With one cell phone, with one gadget, you have a telephone, meaning the telephone market has been disrupted. You have the camera, meaning the camera market has been disrupted. You have a radio on one gadget, meaning the radio market has been disrupted. You have a complete laptop, meaning the laptop market as well has been disrupted. Because with this thing, you can write emails, you can attach files, you can send emails, you can receive emails, you can, You have a recorder, which means the recorder market has been disrupted. You have your banking systems, which means the ATM systems or the ATM market has been disrupted as well. Look at many banks, they're no longer renting ATMs. They're reducing the number of ATMs in malls, in towns, because people don't use them. So if you don't have a full utilization of the ATMs, what do? You reduce the numbers. There's a bank which had about 10 to 15 ATMs in one floor, one row of ATMs. Now the ATMs have been reduced to 4. Ask yourself why. It's because people don't need those machines anymore. They've got ATMs on their cell phones. So you can't be renting out. The banks are renting out those machines, those automated teller machines. They're renting them out from the service providers. So they can't rent the machines that are not being used, and they're paying this hefty amount of money every month for things that are not being used. So we reduce them to 2. On this gadget, you have your weather services. You have you name them. You have everything you need on one gadget. You have your television. The television market has been disrupted as well. You have your television, so you no longer need a TV. Look at how things are rolling now. I'm recording this with one of the gadgets, which after the recording, I'll be able to work on the gadget itself, to do all the editing and everything on the gadget. So the telephone, the TV market as well, it's been disrupted. When you watch TV at home, most definitely be you, the parents, and the kids will be in their rooms watching the same show on their phones, using your account to access the services that you use to access the same service on TV. So think about it. There's something big, something that is going to disrupt all of this. One thing that is going to disrupt all of this. So you will not need to have all of these apps on your cell phone. You will just need one app, then it does all of that. Think about it. What is it? Let's come up with such a disruptor. I tell you now, if you don't think out of the box, then you are not an innovator. Because no one ever thought we would have something like WhatsApp. Okay, WhatsApp came later. No one ever thought we would have something like Facebook, ever. Before we had Facebook, no one would have thought of Facebook. But now that we have it, then we know the possibilities. Mark my words. I told you, if you watch one of my videos, you're gonna come out with some kind of an idea or something to start something. So we can't just sit and say, they've taken everything, so there's nothing we can do. No, there's something that we can still come up with. There's something that we can build that can disrupt all of this. Because someone came up with a cell phone that disrupted so many things that I've listed. Imagine, have you ever imagined that the TV and the radio could ever be disrupted by one gadget, one small gadget? If you're a person who uses public transport, go into a taxi and see how much people live their home lives everywhere. In a taxi, someone will have their earphones on and they'll be watching TV in a taxi. Someone will be listening to radio in a taxi. So you have all of those things in a taxi. The taxi drivers in South Africa used to bang on music because people did not have such things. In today's South Africa, taxi drivers don't bang on music anymore. The passengers will tell them to turn down the music because they are listening to their own things. Taxis drives without music these days because everyone is watching their own thing. Someone is watching a podcast, someone is watching TV, different channels, someone is watching soccer, someone is watching the news, someone's listening to radio, different radio stations. Someone is, hey, one gadget. So we live in those days. Better if we would have we would be able to have access to internet through Wi-Fi everywhere we go in our country. Then things are going to be much better and much different. Now people are still using their own data, but if you go to smart cities where there's Wi-Fi everywhere, it's even worse. Everyone is minding their own business with their cell phones. One gadget does everything for you. You want direction, this thing has got the map on it. You get lost, this thing has got a navigator in it. What happened to the navigator market? The guys who used to manufacture and sell navigators, those navigators that you stick to your car windscreen? The market disrupted. You can't buy such thing if you have a cell phone. Your cell phone has got all of these things, So let's come up with something that's gonna disrupt all of that in one. And the market gets exciting, I like telecommunications sector because it opens up an avalanche of opportunities for us to choose where to disrupt and how. So Wi-Fi days are here and we're still lacking connectivity. In many parts and corners of the country, we're still lacking connectivity. Cell phone network service providers in South Africa, all four of them, big four, something like that. Their data is very expensive. For you to get 1 gig of data, you need to part ways with a lot of money. That opens up another opportunity for us to look into that. So you don't need to look into the entire sector, but just take out that particular area which you think you will thrive in. Once you start getting an opportunity to, or a license to sell data at reasonable prices, because everyone is selling everything, but I've never seen anyone selling data. You can sell your own data, go buy it from the regulator and sell it with lower prices. Everyone's going to come to it because basically the cell phone service providers have exaggerated their prices, have inflated their prices. For sure. I do want to say what I wanted to say because I don't want to sound controversial. They have inflated their prices. Because if you buy data through other channels, you get it very cheap. And then if you go to these cell phone service providers, it's very, very expensive. Double the price. So you can sell it quite cheaper, So you can start with that, then grow into selling something else, and eventually you become a role player in the telecommunications sector. That's what I mean. So the data prices is one of the things that you can actually look at and then capitalize on and start growing your business around. Data prices. It's not a thing, it's not rocket science to go have a meeting with the regulator and then get an opportunity to also get a license to sell data. Not necessarily airtime, because people don't buy airtime anymore. Airtime it's been disrupted by data itself. So get a license to sell data, so you can get data from whoever regulator and then start selling data. That's it. And before we get to the end of the video, check out the support site for this week, which is called Asha Group. I think it's Asha Group, Asha, ASHER-group.co.za. Yeah, go to Asha Group.co.za, Asha-group.co.za, and then you'll find a list of support programs on the Asha Group and apply for those specific programs that you qualify for. The current one that is running, it's called National Clean Tech Innovation Challenge, NCIC, yeah, National Clean Tech Innovation Challenge. Go apply. You'll see the requirements. They're actually looking for everything. Any innovator who's got any innovation, go apply, and then you get an opportunity to pitch your idea. And then there's, I think, millions of rands that they want to spend on us innovators to grow our innovations. And before I go as well, I want to recommend this book called Closing the Gap. Closing the Gap, it's about the fourth industrial revolution in Africa. It's written by Chilidzi Marwara. Chilidzi Marwara is a professor in the Wits University of, he was a professor in the Wits University. I'm not sure if he's still there. And this book will open up your thinking around the entire thing I was talking about in terms of revolutionizing the technology in Africa. So with that being said, I will see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe. There'll be a pop-up here, somewhere here. Click on the pop-up and subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you next week. Next week.